Oh well. Awesome. All right, let me see. Are we live? Why do I feel like there's this massive delay between what I see and what everybody else sees? Okay. Let me see here. All right. All right. Looks like we're on business. Okay, and I'm just going to mute myself because there is actually a massive delay between myself and everybody else. All right. Welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me for the Facebook Live today. This is super exciting because I always love doing these, and I always love the variety of questions that we get, and I love that they're all different every time, which is great. So sorry it's taking me a little bit of time to get this one up on board. Things have been pretty dang busy here, actually. Well, it's just exciting busy. We've got lots of really cool things going on. So thanks all for your patience, and I'm glad we've got back to this today. So we have a slightly smaller selection of questions today. So we might not go for the whole hour, but I recognize that I might also actually be the only one watching this or listening to myself speak because everybody else is busy. But if you guys are watching this in the live replay, or not the live replay, that makes absolutely no sense at all. If you guys are watching this in the replay that will be posted on later on today, then just drop a comment on this post and let me know what you think and if you enjoyed it and all that kind of jazz. And if you have any questions, if you are watching it live, feel free to post them there, and then of course afterwards as well. So yeah, I am always happy, to answer as we go. All right, so I'm going to do a quick screen share because I had the time to put up all of my questions here. But we'll just duck in and out of screen share, so because I have some other things that I want to show you, and sometimes watching a slide is just boring. But let me start with this here. And because my, don't even ask, because my PowerPoint is being dumb, like let's not go there. It's going to be in preview because, why not? All right, so welcome, your questions answered. Here we go. So now question number one. So this one was a question posted on our page recently. And the question is this: I feel my landscapes are bland and too similar to others. How do I make landscape photography more personal and more interesting? Now, this was posted by one of our alumni, Catherine, and about 5 minutes after she posted this, she also posted the most beautiful photograph of Calgary at night, which was just gorgeous. And I was like, sorry, you just said bland and uninteresting, because that looks pretty damn fantastic to me. But I do see where she's coming from. And this is one of these problems that I find with, the explosion of platforms like, sorry, hold on. Whoa, my goodness. Okay. That didn't go according to plan. Hold on. Sorry, team. Yikes. Oh, okay, good. That was weird. Okay, so yeah, so this is one of the issues that I find with the explosion of things like Instagram as a platform for sharing photos, is that, sometimes we get these profiles that share, it seems like endless beautiful photographs. And some of these are like collections of other people's photographs. So a lot of these platforms are not their own. And some of these platforms, they sort of sharing beautiful photographs, but they all kind of seem the same. And, it's really hard because some of these platforms, some of these profiles seem to really take off. And then we're sort of left there thinking, what's going on here really, right? And so, what I sort of want to do here is I want to give you some suggestions and then also just reassure you as well. Landscape photography can be absolutely spectacular, but, just like all types of photography, if you're getting frustrated with, lots of people not liking your photography, or lots of people not seeming to see it, or you're not seeming to get the recognition that you feel like you deserve for your photography, which, let's be honest, you're probably not. Just take a step back and remember why you do it. Why do you do these things? Why are we out there and why are we enjoying our photography? And I think what you will ultimately come back to is that you want to feel a sense of accomplishment yourself, and that comes from taking a beautiful photograph. Okay, so please don't be discouraged by these things. I want you to own your photography. It is beautiful and it is yours, and it is your wonderful, unique look at the world. So just make sure that, when you're feeling a little bit down in the dumps about these things, pick yourself back up and then go and take a photograph that really resonates with you, something that feels special to you, right? You don't always have to go after somebody else's style or somebody else's work. It's all about you. So anyway, on that note, here are my suggestions for this one. So the key to landscape photography, this is it. It's almost all about timing. we'll get into this in a sec. So it's a little bit about where you're standing or what kind of perspective you take. All right. So these are not my photos, by the way. I just thought I'd throw some National Geographic shots in here because they're just spectacular, right? So a lot of it's about perspective. It's about shooting from high down to low, right? Like a photo like this or a photo like this. Sometimes it's about shooting up and looking into something. Sometimes it's about shooting around a corner. Sometimes it's about, drone photography is a really great example of a different type of perspective. You don't have to have a drone to take a gorgeous shot, but sometimes it's about perspective. Sometimes it's about choosing the right lens. So it's about choosing the right lens for the right job. So this lens obviously has an absolutely beautiful sun star. And if you guys know, if you guys have watched any of our videos on creating sun stars, you will know that this is about the lens. It's about the aperture blades in the lens. So sometimes it's about choosing the right lens for the job. And obviously this is a gorgeous wide angle lens because it's capturing so much of this detail, right? So sometimes it's about choosing the right lens. Another example, this is a beautiful example of when to use a wide angle lens. And just as a reminder for those guys who haven't taken our landscapes course, when you're choosing a lens for landscapes photography, or when you're choosing a lens for any type of photography, really, think about it like this. When you're in a scene, you want to use a wide angle lens because that is going to allow you to capture everything that is around you. When you are looking at a scene, so you're standing outside of the mountains, looking into the mountains, that's when you use a zoom lens, right? So it compresses it all together. Now this lens here is actually probably a fairly neutral lens, right? So they're standing in the scene, but as you will notice, the distortion in this photo isn't that big, right? So like the mountains don't seem, many thousands of kilometers away, right? They seem relatively close. So this is about choosing the right lens. It's about choosing the right lens so that you get exactly the right mix of distortion, so things look grand, and compression, so that they don't look too far away, right? Sometimes it's a little bit about using subjects effectively. Okay, now these ones are actually our shots. But what I like about this is I like about this personality piece, that Catherine was asking about. So sometimes it's about putting the right subjects in the right spot, or it's about being there for these moments, right? So sometimes it's about actually putting the subjects in the photograph when the situation arises. But I'm going to be totally honest with you. Most of the best landscape photography is about timing. It's about being in the right place at the right time. So shots, again, these are Nat Geo ones, so shots like this. You can't put the cloud there when you get there. You can't make the sunrise look like that. This is not a technically difficult shot, right? This is about being there. This is about being in the right place at the right time. And this requires a lot of planning, and it requires a lot of patience, and it requires a fair bit of dedication. So if you really want to get these shots, you have to be there. And that's one of the keys to being an amazing Nat Geo photographer, is that these people are there, right? They dedicate, these trips and their lives to being in the right place at the right time. And that's what creates these spectacular shots, right? Once again, this is not a technically difficult shot. They haven't set up any long exposures or probably even added any filters in front of their cameras for this. There's probably very minimal editing on the shot. It's about being there at that precise moment that the light hits the mountains. Again, it's about being there. I mean, what are the chances that you're going to be standing on this beautiful peninsula when the water is this still? You've got to be there a ton to be able to get this perfect set of conditions, or just be unbelievably lucky. And there's a little bit of that too, right? Another beautiful photograph of Arizona. You've got to be there at the right time of the day to capture this photograph, right? So to distill these things down, there are 4 things that you can totally work on, right? And you do have control over these things. And these are things that you can practice and you can play with and you can experiment with. And this is what I love about photography. I love it when you see a photograph and you're like, oh, I really kind of like that. And I wonder how they did it. And when you can break that photograph down into the different components, like what lens they chose, where they were standing, what perspective they were using, that's when you can start to experiment and you can start to create some different things that you maybe haven't tried before with your own landscape photography. So Catherine, here are 4 things that you can experiment with. So you can experiment with choosing the right lens, right? So the right lens is, sorry, I probably shouldn't have put choosing the right lens, but you can just experiment with choosing different lenses, right? Because there's no necessary right lens for the right job. It's just about choosing the lens that gets you the effect that you want. And you can have 3 or 4 different choices in the same shot, right? So you could take exactly the same photo with 4 different lenses and see which one looks better. Just remember your lens distortion and compression rules. So if you're in the scene, You want to use a wide angle lens if you're looking at the scene, so the scene is away from you and you're looking at it. Try using a zoom lens. But I tell you what, mix it up. Give it a go. Strap on your zoom lens, see what happens. Put on your wide angle lens and see what happens. Remember, you're shooting digital, so you can always just delete them if you hate them. Look for a new perspective. So think high. What is above you? What is below you? Right? Can you find a different viewpoint of the same scene? Especially remember with your zoom lens, you could find a viewpoint quite a long way away and still create a really neat effect. What happens if you take it from this angle, looking sideways at your subject? What happens if you take it looking front on, right? Have a think about how you can create some different perspectives, or just, be a little adventurous. See what happens if you climb up over that rock and, through that and down past that stream, and just see what your scene looks like when you do that, right? Use subjects. So I like to say landscapes, manscapes. Some of the best photos use cleverly placed subjects. And this is especially important when you're looking to add that sense of personality, that heart, that feeling, right? A landscape doesn't have to be devoid of people or of buildings or of objects, right? These things are part of the landscape. They are part of the fabric of what makes up our landscape. So use them, use your subjects. In our lounge, I have a really great video where I talk a lot more about one of our lounge students and our certified photographers, and his name is Morley, and he has the most incredible ability to use his subjects to create unbelievable landscapes. And he does this because he's not always trying to remove the subject. Sometimes we get so obsessed, especially when we're traveling, about, oh, why are there so many tourists in my photo? I mean, it used to drive me crazy. And we would wait for hours for that perfect shot where there would be no tourists in the photograph. And yet, some of the very best photographs that we have are ones where the subject is actually a tourist standing in that incredible scene. And you know what? I'm going to post a couple in the comments after this. I have a couple of examples. You've probably seen the ones in Yellowstone, and I'll post a couple of Morley's as well, so you guys can have a look and see what I mean. But just, landscapes do not have to be devoid of subjects. You should use them because they can really create some awesome effects. And then, of course, the last bit, it's honestly all about timing. It really is. You have to be there. And some of the best landscape photographers are the ones that spend a lot of time out there. I don't know if you guys follow the Calgary photographer. His name is Paul Zizka, Z-I-Z-K-A. And his work I actually super admire. And I admire it because he does the things that I would never want to do. He is the one out backcountry camping in the middle of winter in Kananaskis to take these incredible photographs at night. Now, he also knows how to use subject in his photos, but what stands out for his photographs is that he is there. And he's the only one there, right? That's why he gets the shot, because he is the one who is prepared to camp in -20 to get this incredible photograph. And it really pays dividends. They are spectacular photographs. So if you want to take the amazing shots, you need to be there. So just spend time out there. This is why I highly suggest that when it comes to landscape photography, choose the type of landscape that you feel passionate about. If you love the mountains, spend time in the mountains. If you love the prairies, spend time in the prairies, right? Because this is going to open your photography up to whole new horizons. If you're forcing it, it's just going to annoy you, all right? So choose the type of photography you love, choose the location that you love, and then just spend time there. Be there in the morning, be there in the evening, be there during stormy weather. And that's when the magic happens, when you're the one that's prepared to make the effort to be there. All right. I hope that answered that question. If it didn't, please just let me know. All right. Moving on. Oh, yeah, sorry. No, I have my last point. And my last point is this. You can't actually take the photograph if you're not there. So if you're not there when there's a storm, you can't take a stormy photograph. If you're not there in the morning, you can't take that beautiful morning light photograph. So think about it. If you want that photograph, you have to make those, you have to be there in those conditions. Okay. So think about what conditions you need and then be there. All right, now we can move on. That's kind of like these ones too. All right, so now question number 2. Oh, Jess, you do ask the hard questions. Okay, what would you love to see happen or change in the photography industry over the next few years, and why? This is a pretty big question. I only kind of half got my answer ready for this one. I like her though, she's cute. So I'm just gonna take this off and just talk for you guys for a second because I don't always need to screen share. You can just watch me. All right, so what do I want to see change in the photography industry? Well, one thing that I really love about photography is that it's very accessible, and it means that I could teach almost anybody. Actually, I think I probably could teach anybody to pick up a camera and take a beautiful photograph. And one of the things that I really want to see change in the industry over the next few years is this idea that you can't take a good photograph unless you are a professional. And I think that photography should be a creative medium for everyone, because we are blessed in this day and age of being able to, pick up our camera and capture any kind of moment that we want. And I think everybody should be able to enjoy that, whether it's with their phone or with a camera. I mean, we all have, in all of our lives, there is good and there is bad. And these allow us to capture and preserve and remember the good in vivid color and detail. And it's a way to relive the craziness and the beautiful times of our lives, and to remind ourselves, sometimes through the bad times, that the good times are truly spectacular. And I think everybody should have that gift. But to do that, I also think that it's going to require some change. One of the things that I see a lot, especially in the teaching, is I see a lot of really crappy teaching. And I see a lot of people teaching for the wrong reasons. So it's not about your students, it's not about helping people grow and learn. It's as much about being able to show off their own professional expertise and how good they are in these fields and how good they are in these fields. And look at my work and my photos and blah, blah, blah. Sorry, that was a bit silly, but you guys get the point, right? And I would really love to see some of the very best teachers that we have rise to the top, because I think when we can inspire other people, to really pick this art form up and to take it where it needs to go, I also think that the face of photography will change a little bit as well. And I think that it will become a little bit less about this competition for always having the very best photograph on Instagram, or, having the most number of likes on Facebook. And I think that if we reframe the way that we look at photography, it can come back to something that's deeply personal again. And I love that, because I love the ability for me to share some of my favorite parts of life, some of the crazy times, some of the good times, some of the maybe not good times, some of the people that I love, some of the places that I love traveling to. It helps me to put into images or words where I am, what I experience, what I've learned. It's a really wonderful way to share things. And I think that, we sort of need to bring it back to that, as opposed to, here's another beautiful photograph that I took of blah, or I would like to see it come back to the core and the essence of what it is, which is expressing our own creativity. The other thing that I would really love to see is I would love to see photography as a profession change a little bit. I think that we are too quick to give away our services as professional photographers. And I think that does the whole world of photography a disservice. Because just like anything, we can all learn to take an exceptional photograph, but only a certain few of us are ever going to be able to make that incredibly successful business out of this. And I would like to see that become more of an established and recognized profession, where the very best photographers, doesn't matter how they came into this, doesn't matter how they are trained, the very best photographers are the ones that can actually make a really genuine living out of this. And the second part to that is something that I sort of realized and I sort of snagged upon during all of this COVID crisis. And we're looking at how to change, the way that here we at Land Photography Canada do things and things like that. And one of the things I realized is that there are so few women at the top of our profession. And there was a really big part of me that was super embarrassed about sort of being, the face of Land Photography Canada. And that's why you haven't really seen me on many videos until, this whole thing started. And I was like, well, you don't really have a choice now. If you're going to talk to people, you actually have to put yourself out there. But there are so few women who really reach the top of this game. I had just pull up some statistics, and they were, I'll put them again in the post, but they were kind of like everything, right? It's just a bit of a grim impression of the way that women rise to the top of a profession. And I would like to encourage all women. And I think that comes down to a teaching style again, and taking out some of that like competitive nature. And so a lot of, meetup groups and photography clubs, they're kind of old boys clubs. And don't get me wrong, guys, I love you guys too. So it's not just about, one gender over the other. But I do really think that, if we can kind of break down some of the stigma in terms of learning, everybody is capable of learning. And if we have really good quality teachers, then we can get everybody there, right? Everybody can reach their goals. And so I'd love to see more women sort of rise to the top of this profession too. yeah, so I guess that's kind of, oof, that was a bit of a ramble. I would love to see photography move back to what is important, which is the sharing of our creativity and our experiences and our education and our learnings, as opposed to this contest all of the time, because I think we lose a little bit of the essence of the special moments that we have in our lives when it's always a contest about who's got the best shot. So I'd like to see that happen. You know, I'd like to see photography's profession become, I want people to be more proud of their work and of their profession, and stop giving away services and stop charging next to nothing for them, because what you do is incredible. And the amount of work it takes outside of a photo shoot to create a beautiful portfolio of images is unbelievable. And it's time we started pricing our work based on that too. I'd like to see the quality of teaching rise. I think that there is too much shit out there. Sorry, excuse my expression. But I really think there's a lot of just crap teaching out there. I think there's way too many free giveaways and free videos, and it just kind of, again, it devalues the benefit or the products that we try to create here, which are really exceptional teaching products that have that really human component. And then, yeah, power to the woman. Let's see some more women rise to the top of this industry as well, because we have a different creativity that I think is really important. And I think that we need to lose a bit of that competitive edge. And women are horribly competitive, but also a little bit more nurturing sometimes. So I think that will change, you know, sort of the inclusive element of this. We can all do this together. All right, so that's that question. Now, I'm going to share my screen again for the next one. So that was my superpower there. Whoa. All right, so question number 3, back to photography. Lens hoods. This is a really interesting question. I've actually never had this many questions about lens hoods. So I'm kind of curious about them. All right, lens hoods. What is their real purpose? Why do we need them? What are they best for? What are good ones, bad ones, and how do we buy them? So can we use them across different lenses? So let me rewind on lens hoods a little bit. All right. So what are lens hoods? For those of you who don't know what these things are called, these are the things that attach to the front of your lens here, okay? Now, each of your lenses have them, and what are they? All right, so essentially a lens hood is a piece of plastic that attaches to the front of your lens. What is it meant to do? Now, Janice actually already knew this when she contacted me, but these are interesting questions because I've never delved into it any further than just, you know, sort of the basics in our courses. So, well, lens hoods are just pieces of plastic and they attach to the front of your camera. And what they're designed to do is they're designed to block out any side light that hits your camera at funny angles. And when light hits your camera, especially intense light like the sun, when it hits your camera at funny angles, what it can do is create some really interesting and not so fantastic effects on your photographs. One of these effects you have all probably seen before, which is this idea of sun starring. Now, sometimes sun starring, sorry, not sun starring, what is it called? Lens flare or sunspots. Okay, now sometimes sunspots can be super cool, but generally they're those like kind of green transparent spots that show up on your image. And if you're looking for them, good on you. But if you're not looking for them, they're almost impossible to edit out without a whole lot of work. And you know how I feel about editing. Who has time for tons of editing? Unless you're Carlos, who is absolutely outstanding at it. But for the rest of us, well, actually, no, it's probably just for me. I'm just really lazy. So I'd rather just take a good photograph or just take the photograph that I want straight out of the camera. Which means that I use a lens hood. Actually, that's kind of a lie. I use a lens hood not to block out light. I actually use a lens hood because I'm clumsy and I have little children, which means that my camera sometimes gets dropped. Like, for example, the other day we were filming something and my camera was standing on a tripod and Ayla comes barreling through our living room and knocks the tripod over. Bye-bye camera. Thankfully, however, lens hoods are a really good protection device for your camera and for your lens, right? Especially when you've got a nice expensive one on there. But anyway, okay, so yes, really great for refracting light. So why do we need them? Well, we need them in really bright situations where light is coming into our camera from different angles. What are they best for though? So this is an interesting question. They are best for situations where you have bright sources of light. So they're particularly good for shooting outside. When it comes to shooting inside though, you don't generally have that many funky bright light sources coming your way, right? We don't often have light sources. Actually, it's impossible to have a light source that is as bright as the sun, but we don't often have light sources that are anywhere close to as bright as the sun inside our house. So you will not find a lot of photographers use these inside unless they're using them to protect their lens. Now, is there any reason to take it off inside? Well, no, not really, because it doesn't do anything very much, right? It's not going to affect the quality of your photograph necessarily. So if you keep one on, like if you love shooting landscape photography, then keep it on. And then when you come inside, who cares if you take it off or not, right? You also won't find it used in studio photography all that much, although with studio photography, sometimes you do have strobe lights and bright lights. And so some studio photographers will actually keep them on to prevent, again, those lights refracting around something off the room that they didn't notice and giving them some weird light going on in here again as well. So my tip with lens hoods is if you have them, use them. If you don't have them, don't worry about it. We went through a long phase there where we didn't use ours very much because when we were traveling, pre-pandemic, our lenses often didn't fit into our bags with them on. And it was just sort of annoying to have to do this every single time you put your lens away. And you can actually do that, guys. So you can actually flip your lens hoods around to make them more compact. Okay, sorry. Famous last words. Okay, so now as you can see, it's just the size of the lens. And I can turn it around and put it back on the front again. Okay, so then it comes out. Yeah, so if you have them, and particularly if you're shooting outside and if they fit in your camera bag, keep them on. Great, it's great. It's good lens protection. It's good for preventing those side light situations or those back, those light refraction situations happening. And really they're just kind of handy. They're handy to have. What are good and bad ones? That's an interesting question. So what are good and bad ones? They're pretty universally fine. And I say that because they are literally just pieces of plastic. So there is no special coating on these necessarily. There's nothing fancy about them. I have used many different things before as lens hoods in a pinch, such as, the coffee cup, and they give you like the heat sieves that you put on them, like at Starbucks, the cardboard ones. They actually fit quite nicely over a lens, so I've used those before. So there really is no good and bad lens hood. The thing I would caution you against though is that, and I didn't bring my other lens with me, but depending on the lens you have, the lens hood is a different shape. And it's a different shape because if it didn't change shape, you would actually start to see your lens hood in your frame. So what you will notice is with your wide angle lenses, instead of being completely uniform, like a cylinder all the way around here, it's actually a butterfly shape. So they've actually cut out pieces, and they've cut out pieces so that when you're taking a photograph at a super wide angle, you don't see the edges of the lens hood in the photograph. Okay, so just make sure that you have the right lens hood for the lens. You can actually buy some aftermarket lens hoods that collapse down, which are kind of cool. I say kind of cool because they're good for space utilization, but they don't provide any extra protection for your lens because this is hard and those ones are soft because they actually collapse. And you do have to be a little bit careful about those because unless you're getting the right size lens hood for your lens, again, you might actually start seeing the lens hood in your image, which would just be really annoying, quite frankly. Yeah, so good, bad quality, not necessarily. Just buy the lens hood for your lens. That's probably what I would say. Again, though, if you don't have them, it's not the end of the world. So if you don't feel like spending that money on them, then don't. Now, can you use them across different lenses? Well, and Janet specifically said this because you can use filters across different lenses with step up and step down rings, or just depending on the size of the lens. So this works in kind of the same way. You do have different lens hoods for different size lenses, but you have them for two different reasons. And I would suggest buying them specific to your lens because of two reasons. First of all, it does depend on the diameter of your lens. So they don't all fit across different lenses, right? So like this one's not going to fit on our 35mm, it will fit on our 50. But also because if I pop this on my 35mm, again, it's too thick in this direction. So you would actually see the edges of the lens hood in my photo. So my suggestion is buy them per lens if you're going to buy them at all. Okay. Can we use them across different lenses? So you could, but I wouldn't suggest it. I would suggest getting the right one for the right lens. And then do you even need them? Well, it's kind of optional. So I hope that helps on the lens hood front. All right, the next one. I just realized I should have taken that off screen share. Anyway, hopefully you guys can see me in the tiny screen at the top. All right, so this next question is a fun one. What quality or qualities do you think make a great photographer? I kind of like doing this one. This one's sort of fun. So my first quality is, I think, curiosity. I think the best photographers are the ones who have this innate sense of curiosity about the world. What's over there? What's down that alleyway? What is he doing? What is happening over there? What's that event? Oh, I wonder what that country looks like. I've never driven that road before. I wonder what's down there. You know, that innate sense of curiosity takes you to places that you would never have gone without it. It takes you off the beaten path. It takes you, it gives you that drive to then sort of see something new and to find something new about the world. And so I think that one of the traits is curiosity, for sure. I think the next important thing is a sense of adventure. So I think the best photographers are the ones who are like, I've never done that before. Well, let's give it a go, right? Let's just give it a go. Let's see what happens. You know, and this is just as important for portrait photographers as it is for travel or landscape photographers, right? You know, for a portrait photographer, somebody's going to come to you one day and say, I really want to do X, Y, Z. So for example, I want to do those incredible maternity shots in the bath with the milk water. And you're like, ooh, I've never done those before. All right, sure, let's give it a go, right? That sense of adventure is what's going to give you the opportunity to discover new things and explore different possibilities. So, and that's what, it's not just what gets you better shots, it's what makes you better as a photographer. That sense of adventure gives you a chance to try new things, to expand your skill set, to explore the limits of what your capabilities are right now and see what they could be in the future, which sort of helps you to grow and develop again as a photographer. I think this one's really important, and I really don't think that a lot of new photographers, especially pay enough credence to this. A willingness to learn. You don't know everything. Nobody knows everything, right? I mean, I'm learning every single day on this job. In fact, yeah, every day. And I think you have to be willing to accept those learnings, you know, from somebody who is better than you, from somebody who is as good as you, and I think from people who aren't as good as you, because I think you can learn a lot about how you share your passion for photography with the world. So you have to be willing at all times of your life to learn and to try new things and to see what happens and to Google it and to ask and to put yourself out there, attend a new course, you know, go to a new photography meetup. You've got to be able to put yourself in this space where you become this sponge for knowledge. So that's really important. And that is like one of the best things about, you know, the best photographers in the world is that they are still, even though they are the very best photographers in the world, they are still sponges. They still have this willingness to learn something new. And I love that. This is an interesting one. So you may or may not agree with this one, but I really think the best photographers are the ones with the desire to not be the center of attention. And this is, you know, if you're going to be behind the camera, you can't be part of the action, right? And you have to make peace with that and you have to be okay with that. And you sort of have to celebrate that too. But photography is about looking at the world. It's about absorbing the elements around you, and it's about not being the one in the very center of the attention all of the time, right? And I think that comes down to as much taking our photographs as sharing them as well. Sometimes our photographs should be more about celebrating what is in the photograph than the act of taking the photograph. And I think that that can bring back that passion for it again, because you're sharing with the world something spectacular, not necessarily something spectacular you've done, but something spectacular that has happened. You know, and that's what I love about, you know, Nat Geo photographers, for example, is their work is all about, and their stories are all about where they were, right? Not about them. So I really love that. And I think that's a really important part about becoming an exceptional photographer, is that you have to step out of that and you have to be prepared to be the one that's a little bit out of the center of attention all the time. And this kind of ties in with this, a sense of stillness and patience. So the photo can't come to you unless you're paying attention, right? So you can be standing in exactly the right spot. Your camera's set up to precisely the right settings because you learned how to do this, right? You had that willingness to learn and you figured it out. And now you have to wait, right? You have to wait for the right time. You have to wait for the right smile. You have to wait for the right sunlight. You have to wait for the clouds to break. You have to wait for the right kiss, the right hug, the right pose. You know, as much as we try to create the perfect environment for our photography, being able to be okay with waiting and being still in that process is sometimes one of the best gifts you can give yourself as a photographer, Take the pressure off shooting 100% of the time. And remember that a lot of photography is about noticing. It's about realizing that moment when it happens to crop up in your face, right? So be still, be patient, have some perseverance for this, because sometimes it's hard. It's hard to turn off that side of our brain that just wants to snap, 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 snap all of the time. Just wait for another split second and see what happens, because you just might find that if you're always behind the camera, you miss that beautiful moment that was just out of your peripheral right here, right? So have some still, be still, have some patience, and a whole new world of things will open up to you. And that's cool, not just because you're a photographer and you get new photos, but that's cool because you're a human being. And suddenly you've opened yourself up to all of these new experiences, and you've let them wash over you before you feel the need to capture them. And I think that's a really cool part of photography. That's one of my favorite things. I love being able to sit back and just observe and just see what happens next. I think that's really cool. And then my last one, I think you have to be personable. And I think this is, again, more than just like portrait photography. I mean, obviously, if you're going to take family photos or studio photos or newborn maternity boudoir, you have to be able to talk to people. You have to be able to relate to people, and you have to be able to make people feel comfortable in the situation and feel good about themselves. It's one of the hardest parts about portrait photography, is helping people move past their insecurities about having photos taken of them. But it's more than that, though. I think that you need to be able to interact with people as you're traveling, because you want to take a photograph of someone, but you need to be able to create that relationship. And that requires a sense of courage and personal interaction, that you can develop an instant relationship with somebody, that you can take a photograph of them on a street in, some random city somewhere. You have to be personable with your other photographers, right? We're in this together. We're all creating this beautiful art form. And so you need to be able to create these connections with other people and other photographers, so that you can learn, so that you can share knowledge, so that you can be still, miss a moment, capture a moment, be curious. So I think developing your personal skills and your ability to just relate to other people and listen to other people, I think that's really important too. So if you don't have any of those skills, because none of us have them all, it gives us all something to work towards, right? But I do definitely think that if you start working on these as well as your photography skills, then I think you will find a whole new set of possibilities open up to you, which is really cool. All right, our last question is about printing. How to print amazing photos. How are we doing for time here? Okay, good. We're going to finish perfectly on time, just within the hour. So I get a lot of this question, and here are some suggestions on printing. Printing is always a little bit of a tricky one, because what you see on your screen is not what you're going to get printed out necessarily. And it changes from printer to printer, and it could be really tedious, pardon me, please, and hard work to know exactly how to set your computer screen up so that you see what the printer is going to see, and blah, blah, blah. So here are my 2 biggest tips for printing. My first tip is this. Well, that's a lot of text. Generally, and this is very generally because it does depend on where you go, when you get a smaller print done at a certain place, it gives you an indication of what the larger print will look like, as long as you go to the same place, okay? So buy some small prints, like just, what are they, 4x6 inch prints? They're usually like 10 cents each or something, and then adjust your photos based on those prints. So if the prints come out dark, make your photos brighter, and then get your larger prints done. If your prints come out and they look kind of bland and unsaturated, so they look a little bit flat, then increase your saturation, increase your colors, increase your contrast, and then go and print it again. And you can do this 3 or 4 times. You don't just have to do like one set of little prints and one set of big prints. You can do a bunch of little prints until you get the setup that you like, and then go back to that printer and get it done again. So that's generally how we do our prints. And we've printed from a bunch of places. I think we printed from Walmart, which is probably one of the, they're a bit hit and miss, I'm not gonna lie. And we've printed from Costco. They're a little bit better, I would say. They're a little bit more standard, a bit more consistent, sorry, is what I mean. And if you do go to one of these places, don't walk out of the store without checking your photos first, okay? The reason I say this is because we went to a particular Walmart a few years ago to get our photos printed. And we did the small print first, then the big print second. And once we got the big prints back, I looked at them in the store, and I cannot tell you how bad they were. And the print shop attendant was like, I don't see what's wrong with them. And I'm like, dude, they're green. I was like, they are green. I did not bring in green photographs. Look on the screen. That does not look like this. And so what had actually happened is that they were having some printer malfunctions. And I was like, no, you guys need to sort this out, right? So never leave the store without checking your prints first. I mean, that's just mostly so you don't have to go back and argue the point. But yeah, so make sure you're always checking your prints, buy some small prints first and then make adjustments on that. And that's generally the best way that we've done it here, is actually just doing that. And then, you know, you can actually get some pretty cool results for not a whole lot of money if you do it like that as well. So you don't have to go to a professional printer to get them done. So most of the prints in our house, even our really big ones, were just done at Costco. And I think they were like $35 or something for the biggest size they have, which are huge. So yeah, super reasonable. And what I like about doing that is you can change it, because as you guys know, you have way more amazing photographs than wall space. So you will likely want to change your photographs out every now and then. And in fact, we're overdue for that for sure. So yeah, I like getting them printed at relatively cheaper places just so that I can keep changing them over. My second tip though, is that if you have something that's really special to you and it is really important, then go to a proper printer. So use a camera store or a print shop that specializes in printing photos. So somewhere in Calgary, we've got VizTech, or the camera shop I think even does prints. But I know VizTech's print shop is really good because I have had interactions with them before. And then you can ask them actually for their printer specs. And then you can also ask them how to use them. Now, if you're going to pay that much money to get a beautiful photo printed out, and it is expensive, it is totally worth it, but it is expensive, then make sure they're telling you how to use your, how to calibrate your screen so that you see it for them. So don't just get them to give you the settings, get them to tell you how to do it as well, okay? And then you are well within your rights to ask to get a small test printed first. You will probably have to pay for the print, and that's fine, but you're well within your rights to just ask, say, you know what, I just want to make sure that this is going to come out exactly as I see it in my mind's eye. So can you just do me an 8x10, you know, pay the $20, make sure it works, and then go for the big print. Again, because they're most likely using the same printer. So if you make your adjustments based on a small print, small cheaper print, then that's generally what you're going to see in your big print as well. All right, so that's for your super important work. But again, just ask. It is their job to help you get the best outcome you possibly can, okay? And if you're not satisfied with the printer, go somewhere else. So just ask, see what they can do to help you, and then go from there. Perfect. Okay, so I'm running out of breath. So I'm gonna give you 3 updates before we sign off today. Thank you so much to everybody for those questions. And if you have any more, make sure that you keep looping back. I'm going to hopefully run another one of these next month as well. So, you know, keep your questions in your head. And when you see it pop up, email me or put a comment on our Facebook post. Thank you. Yes, Jana, good job. English, it's there somewhere. Put a comment on our Facebook post and then we can get back to you. But 3 updates from what's happening with Learn Photography Canada / Learn Photography Company, because as you guys will have noticed, we are expanding our borders past just Canada, and we are taking, you know, some really exciting things internationally. So we can't be Learn Photography Canada anymore. So you will see more and more Learn Photography Company pop up. I promise we're exactly the same. I promise it's exactly the same team. I promise it's exactly the same content, just a slightly different name, so that you know, we can keep our online separate from our in-person, and everybody understands sort of what's going on, which is a challenge, as you guys will have noticed. But 3 updates from the news desk here. The first thing is that we are, yeah, COVID sucks. So we are giving everybody, for a limited time only, access to our Learn Photography Lounge for $7 a month. So if you purchase it while our promotion is running, then you get $7 a month access to our lounge for your life, your entire life, or as long as you want to be a part of it. An entire life might be a little bit of a stretch, but essentially you're never going to pay more than $7 a month. So what is our Learn Photography Lounge? Well, it's kind of, so the reason this group is paid is because we're, basically what I want to do is I want to help you guys stay involved with your photography in a more intentional way. Okay, so our lounge is a place where we're going to be posting challenges. We've already got our first 2 up there. Our first one was really fun. I'm hoping to get some, or we already have some guest speakers lined up to come in. We've got some super cool people. Some of them are our alumni too, which is actually really fun. So we've got some guests lined up to come in. We've got challenges going on. I'm going to be posting some snippets of our awesome videos. I think we have our filters video up there, which is cool. So if you've ever wanted to learn how to use filters, it's our whole filters section that you would get in our digital 3 course online, all up there. So we're going to be posting skills videos and, you know, great question and answer sessions that we can delve into questions in a little bit more detail. And so you can dip in and out of this as much as you like. Our group is based on Facebook. So once you purchase it, you're going to get a link that says come and join our Facebook group, but you don't have to be on Facebook either. So you can actually access this just via email. So we email all of our challenges out. I'm emailing all of my feedback to people. So you don't have to be a part of the Facebook group to be a part of this fantastic community. So, and you don't have to do every challenge. We don't expect that of you. If you look one video 1 month and you do, 5 of the other exercises in the next month, that's totally fine as well. So it's your space. It's your kind of comfortable, safe space to really practice your photography, explore your photography, and improve yourself without always feeling like you have to be in a course to get that level of support, right? Or to get those challenges. So yeah, it's a really fun spot to be. And I think that the people who are in there right now are really enjoying it. And I'd love to see it grow just because I think it's a wonderful community. And the more of us that are part of it, the more fun we can have with this. So I'm going to pop the link to that in the chat. I should have written all these things down that I meant to be putting in the chat, but I'll pop the link in there to that. So you guys should definitely sign up soon. You get the first 14 days for free anyway. So if you don't like it, just cancel. And you can cancel at any time. Okay, so you don't have to pay. There's no sort of set requirement for this one either. My second announcement is that our online masterclasses are starting next week. Hooray. Okay, so our basic skills masterclass, which is essentially for you in-person people. This is our digital 1 and our digital 2 courses in an online environment where we have epic structure. So each week, people who are part of our masterclass, so our basic skills masterclass is 3 weeks long, and our landscapes and our portrait masterclasses are 6 weeks long. And the idea is that it's not just online. I'm going to hold your hand. And this is really great because all of us are busy and we are all stressed for time and we really want to learn. But sometimes when we have to do it ourselves, I'm just not that motivated. So let's do it together. That's what this is about. This is about having an instructor hold your hand. So each week of this, you're going to have 1 to 2 hours of videos to watch, and these are going to be our online courses. And then you're going to be checking in on Zoom with me for an hour every week. And in that hour, you get a chance to ask me any question that has arisen over that week. So anything that pops into your head. I can walk you through a piece of the online course that didn't make sense. I can answer a question that didn't quite fit for you. And you're like, I don't really understand. I can show you something on your camera. I mean, this is what the beauty is of Zoom. Hello, put it up and I'll show it to you. And then also you'll have weekly exercises. So you will get the chance to practice and to show me, and I'll give you feedback. So we have small group sizes, maximum of 10. So there's only going to be a maximum of 10 people on that call at any one time. And you get all of the attention that you need. So this is like online, but not on your own. And that's sort of what we're trying to do with our masterclasses is recreate our in-person experience online. So I want to be there for you. I want to be able to answer your questions as they come up. I want to help guide you through the content so you feel like you've actually signed up for something you can do. And so our masterclasses are a really great way, if you're just getting started, to explore a little bit more about your camera and to really dive into this sort of experiential experience where you get to actually do and get feedback and practice. So we still have our promotional pricing available, and I'll put some links in there about that as well. Sign up, it's cool. Okay, finally, we have coming your way soon. We're just finalizing all of the details of this, but we have our in-person courses, an update for our fall and winter scheduling. So, we're definitely very much in this pandemic. And as the weather gets colder, we are unable to run our courses outside socially distanced, which means that we're really limited in terms of locations, in terms of class sizes. So, we've been doing a lot of thinking about this because it's everybody's safety. It's the safety of our students. It's the safety of our instructors. It's the safety of our society that we want to be supporting here. And, I think we need to be realistic about moving our classes indoors, and maybe this isn't the best time to be doing that. So please stay tuned for some fall and winter updates. We have really great options for people, and we're really happy with the way our scheduling will look, but it's just going to be different to what you're used to. We're going to be sending out an email. We'll pop it up on our website. You will see, changes to our dates and changes to our structure up there a little bit. So these are all of our in-person courses, guys, that are changing. We're going to have options for you guys to switch between in-person and online as you need to. So you can come online with us during the winter, even to the masterclass idea where we're still holding your hand, but you don't actually have to do it all by yourself. And then you can switch back to the in-person as you need to. Okay, so we're trying to keep things flexible. We really want to keep everybody involved. As you guys know, we love photography and we just want to share this love with everybody. And we want to do it in a way that is meaningful to you. So stay tuned for those updates. They're very exciting and they're coming your way within the next week here, because I know my fabulous, fabulous friend here, Maxine, is working her bum off on this. So any questions that arise from that, please don't hesitate to let us know. We are here to help. And again, please just ask if you're worried about something or something that we've told you doesn't really fit with your scheduling or what you had planned. I am super happy, and we are all happy to be as flexible as we can be and work out a different arrangement for you. So please just ask me, because I am seriously here to help. All right. Now, I think that's all that I had. So thanks again for watching. And hopefully this was helpful. And yeah, I can't wait for the next time I get to, sort of virtually say hello. There's lots of information coming in the comments below, so make sure you have a browse through that too. And I will see you all next time.